Hey, folks. Welcome, 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 welcome. Good to see you all. We're waiting for our guests to join. They're a little delayed from another meeting, so we're going to give them a couple minutes. But thank you for being here, and we'll get back to you shortly. If anybody has any questions, drop them in the chat in the meantime, and we'll make sure to get to them. Thanks. Hey, Chris.
Hey, how
Happy
are
Monday.
you? Happy
Not
Monday.
too bad. Here at the Hacker Dojo in San Francisco.
I'm sorry, you're where in San Francisco?
The Hacker Dojo. Actually, it's in,
Nice.
that's where we've been working at it for the last few weeks.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, it's been
Do you
pretty
get
fun.
to experience any culture, or is it just constant work?
That is the culture. San Francisco.
Uh, I kind of mean outside of doors once work is done for the day. Do you get to explore, or are you just 24/7?
What do you mean when work is done for the day?
Yeah, okay, that answers my question.
Cool.
Yeah. So, uh,
Sure.
no, just I was asking a flavor question, but go ahead and run your meeting.
We're just waiting for the Swarms.ai and Orbit.xyz guys to join. They're a little delayed from another meeting. I think we're going to have somebody on from DAOS.fun as well, but we'll let you all know shortly on that. This was mostly a promotional thing for the DAOS.fun community to get them involved in Koii. So Koii node operators will get a chance to join through actually running the node and participating on the backtesting side. So we have a whole chunk of the token supply for KOIII earmarked for them. Um, but yeah, I can see that people think it was a little rushed. We also felt that. Unfortunately, it got bought out in 13 minutes. So it was pretty crazy. It was probably one of the fastest things that's ever raised on DAOS.fun. But we were at the DAOS.fun office. So as soon as we clicked the button, it seemed like it just went boom right away, which we would have liked to have it open for a little while longer. But, that's how these things go, unfortunately. Chris, I'm not sure if you're still there, but
I
there's some
am.
lag.
It wasn't my question, so I didn't know.
Oh, sure.
Um, Now, I was going to ask you, it feels that when I go to crypto conferences, it's sort of the same cohort, just going from city to city, and it doesn't feel like the conferences really represent anything unique about the location. It's just the same people, different venue. Do you feel that running operations out of San Francisco has a completely different vibe, or does the crowd just feel like a crypto crowd anywhere?
No, we're not really hanging out with the crypto crowd that much, to be honest. More the AI community. Though some groups like DAOS.fun are pretty interesting to talk to. So we've been occasionally visiting some of these offices. The main benefit I think from being out here is we just get cutting edge AI tech. Like I just walked into somebody as they were leaving this room that we're now having this call in, and they've built probably the world's leading foundation model for Red Hat analysis. Um, and so, like just this morning, we were able to strike a deal quickly to actually get that integrated into Prometheus, which is pretty cool.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's getting to those kinds of builders and getting to be like at the front of the space on that kind of stuff that really makes the big difference.
Nice. Do you
Yeah,
find
overall, it's been very enlightening.
Do you find more opportunities to build long-term infrastructure or to accelerate development process to the
I'd
extent that
say
they're different things?
I'd say both for sure. The big thing is the amount of deep tech that's being developed out here. I think the crypto community tends to use deep tech, but not actually build it themselves.
I see. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. So you found your home for now, in other words.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna be sticking around here for a little bit. My partner Tara is going to be visiting conferences because she's been doing the BD side of things more. But I've been heads down building. It's a lot more productive, I find, if I have time to actually get some work done instead of just doing BD all the time.
Yeah, that's always been the case. You were just kind of forced into it because that's the life of a CEO, right?
Yep, exactly. So here we are on live streams, which is a little easier.
Yeah,
Um,
nice.
I see. Oh, Mike is joining. There we go. This is Mike from Orbit.xyz. Hey, Mike. Welcome.
Hi, welcome.
Indeed. Good to have you.
All right, yeah. So we recently launched the Koii token on DAO and the Koii DAO on DAOS.fun, and lots to come. Lots to come.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to get into a bit of a deeper discussion in a sec, but we're just seeing a bunch of community questions pouring in. So, hey guys, keep dropping those in the chat, and we're going to get through them in due order. I do see Marango said, is there a cap still on buying in? So the initial token has been released now. You can still buy the token on the market, which is what we've been doing. We actually get a share of the trading fees back into the pool for this. So the trading fees are going back into that same pool. And just today, we actually bought up a big chunk of them. I'll share my screen here, actually, and I can show you guys. Discord's doing its usual thing with screen sharing, so this might take a second. Might have to buy Nitro, it looks like. That's a fun noise. Thank you. Thank you, Discord. Looks like Discord is not going to let me share my screen right now. But yeah, I posted a screenshot of this earlier. We just bought 87 million of the new Koii with 3 eyes token. So this token is completely separate from the primary Koii token. Good to see you all. We're waiting for our guest. That was the live stream that Bob's got up and running. It finally kicked off. Looks like it's got about a 5-minute delay. So we bought up some of the additional tokens. We've got about 87 million of them that are going to be distributed to Koii Node operators for helping us backtest this strategy and stuff. Mike's from Orbit 2, who we've been working closely with the last week or so. Pretty storied career. Mike, do you want to give a bit of a background on yourself? I think we introduced you last Friday, but it might make sense to tell a bit more about your backstory.
Yeah, I'd love to. Al. So I'm primarily an AI researcher turned quant trader. So I started out working on neural networks in extreme weather simulation, right? And that's quite similar to the crypto markets, turns out, because one day the crypto markets are up 20%, another day down 30, right? So a lot of interplays between the two, but had a traditional career in finance as a engineer and trader before trading. So we've been working with Koii on optimizing a number of algorithms, one of which being delta hedged liquidity provider, right? So uh, essentially a way to come up with a delta neutral strategy that's long short, where you're longing a speculative asset like a token or something like that, and shorting a treasury like stock, right? That could be Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum, and this has to be executed well, or well, your strategy won't work, right? So there's a lot of interplays between the two, and so excited to get started.
Yeah, it takes a lot of back testing and a lot of compute capacity to do this well, right?
Oh yeah. So a part of what we're doing is creating a tournament for agents, right? So the best agent wins, and the best agent gets the most rewards. And in terms of implementing this strategy correctly, if we think of this as like a basic linear regression, and and agents like battle between each other into picking which parameters to set in this basic linear regression model. In order to do this, we need quite a bit of back testing on historical data and combining that with live simulations, right? So uh, lots of interplays between the two.
Definitely. And that's basically running over the previous transaction volume and trading history, and then trying to run that until we find any kind of intricate relationships that we can take advantage of. Marango in the chat, as one of our kind of key node operators, said, will the task have any CPU or RAM based requirements? I think it's like about 2 gigs of RAM and like 1 CPU core. Though if you have more than that, then you'll get through more back testing at the same time. Is that right?
That is right. Yes.
Yeah, so it should run on pretty much any computer, but if you have a bigger, better computer, then you'll probably earn a little bit more. We're still working out some of the tokenomics on the task side of things. But to kind of make it a little bit simpler, when you have one of these DAOS.fun tokens, it's very different from Pump.fun. So DAOS.fun is a DAO launchpad. So this is a DAO. It's governed by whoever holds the KOIII, so Koii, as we might call it. The Koii token gives governance rights, and it also means that you're actually involved in the fee payouts. So every time that there's a transaction on DAOS.fun, we get a share of those fees back into the pool. And so those are the fees that we're going to then be taking and repurposing to actually give out rewards to node operators. So every time that we earn transaction trading fees, we're going to be using that to buy back the Koii. And once we have a pool of Koii, we'll be pushing that over to the node operators for rewards for the backtesting side. Which then, of course, gives us the best trading algorithm, so then we can actually go and use that trading algorithm in production to get an advantage over the market. So pretty intricate strategy, but what it should mean is any node operators that are already credentialed on Koii will have first dibs on earning Koii. And then anybody who is in the community and actually just holding Koii will actually get a piece of the long-term rewards. So we already have about like $20,000 in the pool. We had about 17,000 of SOL that was raised in 13 minutes, which was pretty crazy. Part of why it was so fast. Somebody's asking about the token being mintable. So the reason it's mintable is it's a DAO token. So the DAO has to vote on it in order to mint more tokens, but we don't plan to do that in the next little while. So there shouldn't be any risk of that. And then if there is ever a mint vote, that will happen with the people who have Koii. So you have to actually be holding Koii in order to vote on that, and then it'll only mint more tokens if we see a successful vote. We're hoping to get the team from DAOS.fun on here later. I understand they're really busy today. They just opened a new office in San Francisco, but we're going to try to get them on to answer more questions. And if not today, then we'll get them on a future town hall to come and talk to you guys. I see another question, which is how the rewards will be distributed into a Solana wallet. So right now, the Koii token is on Solana. We're going to be bridging some of it over to Koii as task rewards. And so if you're running a normal Koii node on the K2 network, you'll be able to actually access those tokens. And then if you're holding Koii on Solana, that's where you'll be able to get a share of the rewards as well. And so that it should work on both sides. For node operators, though, you won't have to do anything special. It'll all happen on the Koii side. And I see the node social score. We are working on that actually. So we're working on a leaderboard for nodes, though that's been on the back burner for a little while. We've been pretty focused on a lot of these deeper tech implementations, but we're working on some more social features coming soon. Just depends on the team and how much time Pablo has, because he's pretty busy on all the other stuff right now. Mike, I think we should talk a little bit about kind of what this looks like in terms of the broader landscape. Do you want to go into HJLP a little bit? I'll post the paper so people can take a look at it. I think that's a pretty interesting idea.
Yeah. I'd absolutely be happy to. So the starting off the crypto market has been doing quite well as of the past year and a half. And we've seen quite a bit of industry adoption. A good example here is like real world assets, right? Being added on chain with like Apollo's like credit fund. Blackstone is also launching its own like on chain credit fund, and so we're seeing private credit do amazing things, right? So as we get these like long term stable treasury yields, we can play around with more speculative trading strategies, because there's now a long and a short uh, class of assets in crypto, right? So before we just had Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum as primary market drivers, but now we have ETPs, we have meme tokens, and now we have treasury yields, treasury like bonds. So in doing so, the strategy called Hedge Jupiter Liquidity Provider is essentially a way to have a delta neutral risk on a given portfolio, right? So why does this matter?
What that means, though, so delta neutral is even if the market goes down, you still make money, right?
Yes, because the strategy is it is about rebalancing an index, right? So rebalancing an entire portfolio between what amount of volatility you have in terms of longing a given asset, and then the risk adjusted premium on say shorting an asset, and making sure that that profile is relatively neutral and close to 0% as possible. Like an effective implementation is like 1 to 2%, and so in this strategy, the more successful yield one gets is how close it gets to zero, right? And in doing so, a lot of exchanges like to use this strategy in order to optimize risk adjusted premium and providing liquidity, right? So there's a number. So this is primarily implemented in Jupyter for a number of reasons. One of which it's one of the primary DEX aggregators in crypto, significant amount of volume. So we've essentially implemented a live open game scenario within HTLP. So there's a series of agents that compete with one another within this algorithm to optimize and understand liquidation preference, price action, and what's going on in the market in terms of real time. And so there's quite a bit of agent to agent coordination within this model. So there's a number of companies doing this, but not at this scale and not publicly, right?
And so just in terms of the amount of backtesting that's required for this, can we put some rough numbers on it? Like if you wanted one of these strategies to run well, how many different assets need to be involved? How much transaction data needs to go into that? Like how far back are we talking in terms of reviewing the data?
So you'll see implementations online of roughly 7 to 8 years of backtested data retrieved from Dune and Numia, like directly from on-chain transactions. However, that mostly just provides a historical reference of credit and debit transactions, and we need somewhat of an off-chain consensus mechanism to really tell us what's going on, right? So yeah, roughly 7 to 8 years of backtesting. Although I'd like to think we need something like 20 to 30 years, but we simply don't have that in crypto. So we can use TradFi markets and the energy markets as a benchmark comparable, right? So the way to traditionally make money in the power markets is to detect a slippage, where that tends to occur within the Texas and California energy grids roughly 3 to 4 times a year. So the same thing can be done for crypto. So instead of trying to guess or predict when there's going to be a massive yield change or return on investment in a given asset, how about we just detect a significant slippage, right? That seems like a lot easier since we don't have a lot of data to simulate on. But there's multiple ways to target this from.
I think so. One of the questions in the chat is how reactive is the system? And I think that's the exciting thing about this is based on the way that we're able to analyze this data in parallel across all these devices, we should be able to build something that's incredibly fast and can actually respond to new market dynamics. But it's also the parallel testing of all kinds of different strategies at the same time. So with the way this hedge is designed, we're not actually running just one strategy. We're actually running a bunch of different strategies in parallel. It looks like Mike got booted off the stage. Here he is. Nice. Yeah, sorry, Mike, I'm not sure how much you heard of that because we got cut off, but the main thing here is the ability to parallelize a lot of this across thousands of devices will really bring a lot of advantage because it means that we can be a lot more reactive. We can do a lot more of the back testing and calibration in real time. We should probably also mention how Swarms AI is involved in this. I think Kai is trying to join, but he's got too many different Discord servers, so he's unable to get into the chat. But I think one of the exciting things that we've been working on there is the ability to have swarms running on Koii Nodes. So for those that don't know, swarms are the ability to have a bunch of different AI agents that are competing with each other to find a common value. So this means that you can have a bunch of agents actually arguing with each other in real time and iterating on the idea. So not only are we using this incredibly advantaged AI engine to actually backtest and design the hedge strategy, but we're also actually running a bunch of agents together to compete to find the best version of that. And so there's going to be a few different layers of this and different Koii tasks that'll all be helping towards this common goal, which was why we wanted to open this up this week and get it rolling quickly because we've been working on the tech behind it for a while. But at the same time, it closed very quickly, so there's a lot more options coming. I see Ruffs is asking what can we earn holding Koii? So Koii3, you'll be able to earn more Koii3, which then is giving you a share of the DAO Treasury Pool. So the DAO Treasury Pool will be traded on the markets, and then the actual token you're holding, Koii3, will be correlated to the actual underlying value of those assets in the pool. And so as the Koii3 is traded on the market, you're going to see basically an appreciation. And if the market responds well to that, then you should actually get basically an advantaged price. So if you look at how Koii3 is trading already, it's currently already at 5 or 6 times the assets under management, because people think it's a good thing to hold for the long term because of the future rewards. And what we're seeing here is kind of the first step in that direction of people thinking of this as a long asset that they can hold for quite a while. And so that's kind of what we're offering to you guys. And the idea is if you run a node, you're going to earn more Koii3 on the Koii3 that you stake. So you can earn either as a node operator helping us backtest the strategy, or as a holder of Koii3 who just gets passive exposure to the underlying trading that we're doing. The best case scenario is do both, because then our trading strategy will be better because we have a lot of nodes, and we'll also be able to return more on that capital. So that means that, then the token also goes up. So you can earn more of the token, and then the token itself will go up in value because the assets under management will be going up in value. So it's a kind of a win-win-win. This is, of course, the first experimental use of this, but we think it's going to go pretty well. And these strategies as well are designed to be they're designed to be market neutral. So even if you don't do it perfectly, it just reduces your reward. It doesn't actually go into the negative, which is pretty important, I would say. Mike, can you talk a little bit more about the other stuff that you're doing at Orbit.2 and kind of how you guys got into this space? I know if we look at the website, it's mostly about asset vaults and the ability to have secure crypto trading. But tell us a bit more about what's going on at Orbit.2.
Yeah, of course. So we found there's a gap in the market in a number of different avenues, right? So first of all, Orbit's a perpetual exchange, but we're also a simulation platform to optimize trading, right? So you can think of us as an automated trading engine. And so what we're really working on is instead of this Web 2 idea of markets closing, right? So even commodity futures markets operate at a 23/5 mechanism. So what if we operated markets at 24/7, similar to crypto, but we also do that for traditional finance, right? For commodity futures, this can be done, but in order to do so, we need to underwrite derivative contracts in real time. And we can do so. We can do so with smart contracts, and so there's a number of ways to really innovate here. It's just a matter of how, and one of them being also making sure industry leaders such as like Blackstone and Apollo Credit and others in private credit are comfortable with having their funds on chain, right? We're seeing celebrity brands also looking to bring their entire private credit portfolios on chain, where they can launch a token on behalf of that celebrity, and then the celebrity doesn't have equity in that token, so they don't get in trouble legally because they only have equity in the collateral of that agreement, right? So there's both a gap in the market in terms of understanding, in terms of secure risk neutral solutions for just storing real world assets, as well as traditional trading solutions, right? So real time market data and real time trading, right? If there's some sort of like Robinhood like incident that happens again where you're unable to trade, say GameStop or something similar, I think a lot of retailers will choose to even move their private portfolios, like even their 401ks, to being on chain. And same thing goes with the rate scenario with Trump and the government, right? So as the U.S. government gets more unpredictable, we have no choice but to move more of our assets on chain, and we're seeing this trend, unfortunately and fortunately, accelerate, right? So lots of things to come.
Yeah, I think one of the cool things about this is Koii3 is basically a meme coin, right? But because of the way the sale happened, we created this treasury. So most meme coins, when they do a sale, the treasury kind of goes into someone's hands, but it's like not clear who is holding them. So when I was talking to Bao, who's the founder of DAOS.fun, we had this great conversation about the potential to revolutionize how meme coins are used. So in this case, what happened is we took all of the treasury pool that we raised from selling the token, and we're actually holding that as a DAO. So anybody who bought the token has voting rights on that. And so we as Koii get to produce proposals that go out to the community, and anybody else can also produce a proposal. And then these proposals are what leads to actually the DAO coming to consensus. So either releasing new tokens or investing in the funds that we've received. But this, I think what Mike, you're describing is that this is actually like a new form of capital formation. It's basically like a decentralized, well, in this case, what we're doing is a decentralized hedge fund, but it's a decentralized fund in general, which has the potential to replace not only how we do venture capital, but also how like, large family wealth funds can also manage their money. Where basically now, celebrity could create a meme coin. So if you take like the Trump coin or something like that as an example, and anybody else who wants to get in on that can actually buy that coin to have access to that portfolio of assets underneath. One of the guys in the chat is asking how this could eventually expand to oil, gold, or currency trading. Obviously, we can definitely do that with RWAs, and the backtesting is very similar. Can you speak a little bit to how that could go in the future in terms of like broadening what kind of assets we have in this pool?
Yeah, of course. So I'd like to start like at 2008, right? So after 2008, the Fed came out with a number of regulations on how to exactly structure financial contracts and financial products, right? So this framework has a name, and basically we're coming up with an automated system on implementing that's the title that's quite compliant on implementing this just in smart contract ledger, right? So how this can be done is let's just take like retrieving weather data for just monitoring oil supply. We actually need to tap into an entire network of sensors, so we'll be working with Koii quite closely on potentially on that. So in order to track weather production in the U.S., I need to understand uh, the concept of the phased array, right? So like looking down from space, using satellite imagery, and estimating like how much volume is in a given oil container, right? And doing that over time, it takes a lot of nodes and a lot of compute, a lot of back testing. So there's a component of estimating how much supply is in oil and then underwriting that as a financial contract in terms of risk profile based on what weather is occurring, right? And this is pretty much this is quite a classic strategy in the power markets, but we're taking this on chain, right? So that's a first example. Although with gold, it's quite a lot easier because treasury yields are quite established in that way. So the most innovative one here is oil.
But also, it's something that's possible to backtest for. It's just rather than crypto, where you only need to really look at the trading data with oil and these things, you need to look at a lot of other data points outside of the order book. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. So there's an entire off-chain validation system and series of validators required to even get this correct. And a lot of these sensor networks have been private for a number of years. NASA famously has CHIRPS, which is a rainfall index, and a number of other uh, data providers that enable us to validate what we're seeing on chain in terms of a transaction level um, analysis.
Definitely. I really like, so one of the reasons that we wanted to get this up and running very quickly is that I really see a huge opportunity for this to monetize a lot of the other things that we've been doing at Koii for a while. Because there's this kind of, there's a downstream market for data and information processing that's created when you have these financialized instruments. And so this will be the first test case, obviously, but what we're hoping to see here is that DAOS.fun as a community starts to adopt these kinds of community-backed systems where we can have a whole bunch of community members pooling capital and then actually managing it on their own. So this creates a huge market for Koii Nodes for all kinds of other purposes, as well as all the data feeds that we're able to generate from Koii Nodes. But it also means that we are able to, create a lot of downstream relationships where we can bring in people like Swarms.ai and Orbit and get them also using Koii Nodes. So we're going to see this as a pretty big opportunity going forward. And I think the DAOS.fun community is pretty excited about that as well, based on the awesome feedback that we've seen so far. We saw I saw one more question just now from Rango. It says, can the DAO support new tasks and projects like loans to help startups? So yes, definitely on both of those. We should be able to see all kinds of kind of direct investments happening. The trick is they have to be slightly tokenized because the way that the DAO actually makes investments is by buying a token off the market. But in this way, we're also able to support new projects. So this, we hope, will be kind of a leap for a launch pad rather, where we allow projects to sort of leapfrog the VC space and avoid having to go through that initial fundraising period, allowing them to get to having funds very quickly. See, happy hour for the token and stuff, but yeah, I mean, don't worry about it. It's going to be priced to the actual underlying value of the assets. So as people continue to participate, we'll see the token return. It's the way these things go. I wouldn't stress too much. But the key thing with all of this is the beginning of a much longer flywheel to make the Koii technology that we've been building, and especially all these autonomous agents, much more useful. Crypto is all about the financial game, so we're financializing the core of the ecosystem and then building from there. And yeah, Cryptlord, you're right. Just one sell is kind of, that's the way it goes. It's a very small market right now, so one person selling doesn't really nothing to be worried about. So yeah, how does Koii3 help Koii2? So Koii KOII is our utility token at the core of our network. That's how you pay gas fees. That's how node operators pay to run their nodes, and that's how they make submissions for tasks. So as more Koii3 products come to actually join the ecosystem, that's going to lead to more staking rewards, more people running nodes, and it's going to lead to more transaction volume on the Koii network. Our DEX has also been in the process of being built for a while, so we're expecting that to launch on Friday, and we're hoping to see a significant growth from there to include more people in the ecosystem. As we've kept seeing this growing, we're kind of excited to see more and more people coming in and trying this out. What this is going to mean is more financialized assets on the Koii ecosystem and a continued growth towards more people being able to run nodes and take advantage of these opportunities. Like I said, this is all about creating more kind of upstream value for the Koii node operators. So as we get more people actually in using all of these assets and actually kind of buying data feeds, buying backtesting services, buying AI services, this is going to lead to more revenue for node operators, more TVL on the Koii chain, and then ultimately more transaction volumes in Koii2. So this will be I think a big win-win-win for everybody. Like I said, this is an experimental DAO that we've created. So this is all about creating the hedge fund and allowing more people to earn incremental rewards. But it's just a matter of time before that leads to everybody on Koii making more money. So it's going to be an interesting experiment. We're really excited to have all of you on board and to kind of keep this thing growing, and can't wait to see how things go from here. I don't see a lot of other questions popping up, and I don't see much on the YouTube side either. So we're probably going to wrap up here. Any last thoughts or questions, Mike or Chris?
No, I'm just sort of taking this all in. This is becoming a diverse ecosystem quickly.
Yeah, there's a lot happening. This has been something that we've been developing just for context for the last couple of weeks. So we've been working closely with the Swarms AI team to get their technology onto Koii. And then on top of that, we're also adding some of the great tech that Orbit.2 is building as well. Russ, you're giving me a face palm, man. I don't know what that means. If you're not feeling it, let's hear it in the chat and we can talk about it. Still a face palm.
Well, while he's face palming and you're waiting, does the pivot toward more DeFi on here change anything fundamental, or do they both kind of coexist in the same framework, the same methodology?
No, I mean, that's always been part of the plan. DeFi gives liquidity to tokens. So as node operator rewards have been growing, we wanted to see more and more people coming in and actually running nodes, obviously. Once we run nodes, we hand out tokens to people. That means that we need to have a strong DEX and a strong DeFi ecosystem. So things like trading bots are a really integral part of that. We weren't able to do this last year while we were on testnet because obviously like we weren't plugged into the rest of the DeFi rails. Now that we are, we just want to actually connect up all the different DeFi rails that we have. We have Allbridge now, so you can bridge the Koii token onto any of the other ecosystems. We're going to have DEXs launching on the Koii network in a week, and then we're going to be listing on other DEXs on Solana and Ethereum in the next couple of weeks. So what this means long-term is we're going to have lots of tokens flowing into Koii from other networks, and all of those will end up in the hands of node operators, which is kind of how we've always wanted this to go. The core takeaway from this as well, though, is over the next couple of years, we're going to see DeFi moving away from being something that's owned by venture capitalists and moving towards something that is completely owned by the community. And so, as you can see from the fact that we were able to raise this in like 13 minutes to get this Koii fund going, we're kind of we're taking a big step towards having more and more people included in the community side of it. And I think that's where Web3 has always been headed. So what we're hoping to see here is just more and more traction for people who are running nodes and, at the core of the industry, as opposed to kind of value extraction by VCs and large capital firms. I think, Mike, you had a cool analogy related to GameStop and what this could mean for the future. Do you want to talk a little bit about what this could mean going forward?
I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, working with DAOS.fun, Koii, Swarms, we're essentially arming the rebels, right? So so we're both democratizing trading strategies as well as access to a series of well operated nodes, and an open source multi agent ecosystem, right? So far, previously, say 5 years ago, you need to be at a like 200 million plus fund or technology company to even have access to any of these three, right? Or let's think even pre-crypto. Pre-crypto, there were uh, a lot of the trading power was encapsulated on within Manhattan and the New York City ecosystem on just having a pure control over the market. Institutional investors, even back at the GameStop event, accounted for 90% of trading volume prior to the short squeeze, right? So after the short squeeze, retail investors took over the GameStop stock, and the rebels were armed with by taking over social media, right? And by influencing social media, the rebels were able to influence the price of the GameStop stock because it was over shortened by institutional investors. The institutional investors were over leveraged. So if we take that same strategy and we implement it across at scale for the entire Koii community, for everyone here, then you won't need a gigantic fund in order to be a successful trader. And the alpha will be in public. It's a matter of training agents in order to capture that alpha. And the creation of agents will soon be democratized, so everyone can create an agent, and therefore the trading strategies are going to get more competitive, but still open source. So there's a trade-off between the two.
Yeah, and it seems like this is a really good way for communities to start taking back some of the control. I think you mentioned this briefly, but the key thing is if you wanted to start a trading fund or even be a trader 10 years ago, you had to get somebody's permission. So someone had to give you a loan, someone had to give you a trading book. And if you didn't work at a big fund, that was pretty much impossible unless you had some rich friend. What we can do now, or look, what's been happening over the last 10 years since Robinhood came out, is people have been rapidly moving towards trading their own capital. But then that leaves you still at a disadvantage because of information. And so what we're kind of seeing here is a big shift towards people being able to have the same information and the same dexterity as they trade compared to like everybody else in the market. And so now the big funds don't have that much of an advantage over everyone else anymore. And then the final advantage, which we have that they don't, is we have a lot of different accounts, and that's really confusing for large funds. So if they see a lot of different accounts trading on the market, they have to treat that like volume. So what happened with GameStop is large funds got squeezed, and there's going to be more of that coming. So with these kinds of things, like setting up a DAO like this, we're starting to build sort of a flashpoint where we can actually control what's happening in the market. We can bring a whole bunch of people with nodes. We can help you guys all coordinate so that you can trade things. And we think that with AI, nodes, and the ability to like backtest all these strategies and create delta neutral strategies, we're going to have some really exciting things coming. So it's a very uplifting worldview. We're really excited to have all of you on board with this. And for anybody that's new to the Koii community, welcome. Definitely try out the Koii node. There's going to be some big incentives and some big opportunities there as well. This is all about trying to use data as a tool that can help us all grow. So thank you all for joining, and really appreciate it. If anybody has more questions after this, the Koii Telegram channel or the Koii Discord channel is the place to go. We'd love to see you there. And the trick from now on is just stay tuned, keep running the latest tasks on your node, and maybe buy some of this Koii 3 so we can all try it out together. It's going to be very interesting, and we're really excited for this future. Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Okay, 6, but
has more questions after this, the Koii Telegram channel or the Koii Discord channel is the place to go. We'd love to see you there. And the trick from now on is just stay tuned, keep running the latest tasks on your node, and maybe buy some of this Koii 3 so we can all try it out together. It's going to be very interesting, and we're really excited for this future. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.